Welcome to another episode of Crimes Notes. We are now working on topic 2.7, which is expressions and number problems. So now that you are an expert at how to solve algebraic problems, we're now going to learn how to set them up when they give them to you in a word format. So you should notice, although it has a hole, this says add, subtract, multiply, and divide. So when we get done with these notes, I want you to go through each one and write the words that meant to add here and the words that meant to subtract here, multiply here, and then divide. But the one thing we do need to note about the division that's not used on this paper is the word quotient. So you could go ahead and add that one on there. It's not going to be used on this paper, but that would mean to tell you to divide. The other most important thing about expressions and number problems is there are two terms or sets of words that make you switch the order in which you see the problem. The first is more than, and the other is less than. And the reason for that, if I said I have more than you, in order to prove that, I would have to know how many you had before I could add to that to figure out how many more I had. Same thing with less than. I am 8 years younger than you or less than you. That would mean I'd have to know your age first and then subtract. So those are switch words. And I will go ahead and suggest that you pause the video now and go ahead and highlight every time that you see more than or less than on your paper. Good. So let's start to translate each phrase and see what we can come up with. This first one says 12 more than a number. So the easiest thing to do is to start to translate it is just to write above what you see. So here's 12, so I'm going to write the number 12. Then more than. Well, more than typically means to add, so I'm going to put add. And then it says a number. Well, we don't know what that number is, so just like in algebra, when we have an unknown, a number is going to be x. So again, this is a number. This was more than, this was 12. But more than is one of those ones that you should have highlighted. This is a switch word. It's 12 more than whatever this number is. So that means we have to know what this number is first and then add 12 to it. So originally this would be 12 plus x. But because it's a switch word, we're going to take the two pieces that are on the sides and they're going to switch places. So this would actually be x plus 12 as an answer. Good. So then number 2 is kind of the same thing. We have 8, so we would just write the number 8. We have less than. Less than means to subtract. And then we have a number, which I'm going to call x. Now again, you can call it n, you can call it p, you can call it whatever letter you want. I just use x. But then less than is another one of those switch words. This should be highlighted on your paper because you already went through and highlighted these. So now I would have 8 minus x, but because we're supposed to switch, this and this have to change places. So that being the case, you write the final answer. Good. All right, so let's look at number 3. I'm going to go ahead and fold this paper so you guys can see. Now it says 6. Oops, I didn't leave enough room to write above it. I guess I'll write below it. So 6 decreased by. So decrease means we're going to subtract twice a number. That means we're going to multiply a number times 2. So this is twice a number is x. So we have 6 decreased by twice a number. Well, this doesn't have more than or less than in it, so it's just going to be exactly what we see. So 6 minus 2x. And again, multiplication means we're going to have the numbers squished together. Okay. So number 4, we have 9. So we're going to write 9. Then we have times. Do not use an X here. I'm going to use a dot. Then it says the sum. So I need to multiply 9 times the sum. That means that we're going to have addition. So we have to multiply 9 times something that is added. Well, the sum of a number and 3. So here's a number and 3. Now, this one gets a little bit confusing, okay? We have to multiply 9 times the addition of 2 things. So this addition actually goes with the number and with 3. So the first thing that I have over here is x plus 3. That's the sum of a number and 3. But now I'm supposed to multiply 9 times this whole thing. So that means we're going to have to use parentheses to multiply. And we're going to put the 9 in the front. So now we have 9 times the sum of that whole thing. So I want you to use the idea of this second half, the sum of a number and 3, to think about this one, the difference between a number and 11. So we have difference, which is going to be subtraction, between a number, so here's x, and 11. So I want you to see if you can write that equation based on this. We said the sum of a number and 3 was x plus 3. So this is the difference between a number and 11. So see what you can come up with as an answer there. All right, so let's go back to number 5. This says 7 less than, so less than would be subtract. Then we have 3 times, and then a number, which is our x. Now, this should be highlighted. Again, you should have already gone through. This less than should be highlighted. This is your switch word. So if I write this out the original way, this is 7 minus, and then I have 3 times x. Well, 3 times x is 3x. But this is a switch, so that means I circle what's on both sides of our sign, and it means that they need to switch places. So then you go ahead and write that final answer. And then number 7, I want you to use number 4 as an example and see if you can work number 7 on your own. Okay. All right, so I'm going to refold this paper. Then we're going to start looking at these at the bottom. These do have a different set of instructions. So originally our instructions said translate each phrase into a variable expression. Expression meaning that there's not an equal sign. Down here at the bottom, it says translate each number equation and then solve. So an equation means that we're going to have an equal sign. So we need to set up a problem and then solve it for x. So if a number, this is x, is decreased by, we said that's subtraction, 10, the result is, here's the big thing, is always going to be your equal sign. And then we have negative 21. Again, there is no more than or less than, so this is going to be in the exact order. So this would be x minus 10 is supposed to equal negative 21. So then you could draw your line, and then I want you to go through and solve for x. Okay? All right. So number 9, if negative 32, so there's our first one, is subtracted from, and I know that this is an is, but that's just part of the sentence, it's not part. Notice here it says the result is. So this tells you that that's the part of your sentence. Same thing, here was the word is, but it wasn't in this capacity, okay? So subtracted from is minus, and then you have a number. So this is x. So negative 32 is subtracted from a number, and the result is negative 52. Now, in all honesty, this one should actually be highlighted. So if you didn't highlight it, go ahead and highlight it, and then go back up here to the top, and you can actually add subtracted from to this list. I kind of forgot about that one, so it's a good thing we ran across it. So we've got more than and less than and subtracted from. So subtracted from is going to be that third switch term. So down here, when you see subtracted from,
Mr. Farnsworth, you're in the building. Will you call extension 1000, please?
oh goody.
Mr. Farnsworth, call extension 1000.
Glad you guys could enjoy that announcement from our PA system. Anyway, subtracted from is another switch word. So this is negative 32 is subtracted from x, and the result is negative 52. So since it's a switch word, we need to take this and switch places. Now notice we didn't do anything with this side of the equation. So if I switch those places, I now have x first, then we have a minus, and then we have a negative 32 equals negative 52. So negative negative should become a positive, so we should have x plus 32 equals negative 52. And then you guys can solve it from there. Good. All right, so here's 5 less than, then I'm going to go ahead and do a squiggly because we know that that means it's a switch word and it should already be highlighted. Then it says 1/2. Well, that's a fraction, so we're just going to put 1/2 of, this means to multiply, a number is our equals 18. So I have 5 minus 1/2 times x is just 1/2 x, and that's supposed to equal 18. But again, we've got that switch word, so I need to take this term and switch places, and then you guys go ahead and go back and solve. Good job.